at Manage Comics. Coming to you from a secret underground lair, these dedicated heroes discuss the business of comics, industry news, comic book retail issues, and the latest developments from Manage Comics. They are promoters of comics, champions of small business, and four-color heroes. They are the Manage Comics team.
Oh, that embarrassing moment when you forget to add yourself to the presentation and now you're a tiny little corner. Oh, wow, what a mess. Welcome to Meanwhile at Manage Comics. Normally, it's not quite so chaotic. I created a video earlier today, and just before we started, I decided to watch it. And what I discovered is when you go full media using StreamYard, it removes your voice. So my voice is not here. That's terrible. So I will not be able to use that video, unfortunately, but that's okay. We've got other things that we can share. So I just went through and created a little presentation for this, and we'll jump right into that. But welcome everyone. Drop your name here and let us know who you are. Stronghold Collectibles, I see you. Revenge of Christina Strong. Michael Howard, congrats on the 10 years. Thank you, guys. Yeah, and let me know which shop you're with too, so that I can shout out your shop. So I know Christina's with Stronghold, obviously Joe's with Revenge of, and Stronghold Collectibles speaks for itself. So let's jump into our stuff. I'm trying to get used to this new interface that they've added to StreamYard. And what I found is that if I just go to the full media, apparently it doesn't present my voice as well. So that kind of sucks. You guys all know us. We're Manage Comics. This is our 10-year anniversary. I was going to do a kind of through the years video, but some of the old stuff on the Wayback Machine, I cannot recreate the images for no matter what I do. But just looking at our old logos and stuff was kind of a fun thing to do. We started out with like a domino mask, and at one point there was like a dude with a tie, because I was going through some old files this week. And then of course there became the robot guy that everybody's familiar with. And before that there was like a clockwork robot guy, which is actually the thumbnail for this is based on that guy. So yeah, 10 years. It's been a lot of work. Look at that. Craig's here. Craig, at some point, I'm going to get you to jump on and talk to me. I know you hate the camera, but I don't care. So one of the things we did this year to kind of celebrate our 10 years is revamp our website. So if you go to managecomics.com right now, you'll see our new website with brand new images, all created from our buddy Craig. So you can definitely see that. And I'm just trying to see if I can actually, I can only share one screen at a time. So I can't actually share a website unless I jump out of this presentation. So we will not do that right now. So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. It's a new site. It's all pretty. He's got all new images that he's created, and really, really fun. About Manage Comics by the numbers, you guys have 59,444 active customers that are using Manage Comics. That means there's over 1 million active subscriptions and over 226 pre-orders, which means Manage Comics accounts for $84 million worth of subscription and pre-order revenue every year. And why is something like that important? Well, it changes the conversation we have with publishers and distributors. It was really, really hard getting publishers and distributors to understand why they shouldn't be doing certain things for the longest time. But being able to say, hey, we're generating about $8 million of revenue for you guys every single month, it changes, their tunes significantly. So that's the great news. And that's all thanks to you folks. Trying to find the buttons. Of course, we have our good friend Manage Comics Ordo. We will be changing his name in the Shopify App Store because right now it's Manage Comics 2 subscriptions. We're not allowed to use the word Shopify, so we can't call it Manage Comics for subscriptions or for Shopify, I should say. But yeah, it is not going anywhere. It's actually getting better. And as soon as I get off this, I've got a bunch of QA things to confirm with Taras. We've added a bunch of logging stuff because there's a lot of people are telling us about weird things that are happening. We've even gone back and forth with Shopify on a number of these things and been like, this is your fault. And they're like, no, it's your fault. And we can now conclusively prove that it's their fault and hopefully, get out of the level 1 triage terror and get into the next people. For those of you who don't know what Managed Comics is, it's customer subscription and pre-orders. We do not focus on point of sales at all. We are the interface to the point of sales. We let you create orders for Diamond, Lunar, PRH, Universal. We're working on data deals with Simon & Schuster. I want to say Ingram, but that's not true. And 2 other places. And to be fair, I actually have data for these folks. The problem is when I've tried to put it into my QA environment, it really screws a bunch of other stuff up. So we have some work to do to make sure that that is not causing us problems ongoing. We let you check in the invoices from those distributors, generate your weekly pull lists, create products with over a dozen metadata elements, build your orders in Shopify for easy checkout, invoice your orders online and get paid through Shopify, let customers manage their pull list directly on your website, which has always been an important differentiator, and multi-location enabled as of August. So if you have multiple locations, you can have one Managed Comics that does all the stuff. What we've discovered since going live with that is there's like 120 different ways that people do multi-location. So there's a bunch of updates to that we also have to do. Managed Comics Ordo is Shopify powered, which is the best e-commerce solution, period. End of story. Even the other vendors I've talked to have said, yeah, we can't touch Shopify in terms of e-commerce, which means Shopify stores who use Shopify rank higher in local search than anyone else. And Shopify is omni-channel with POS, which is completely synced. I'm going to stop there for a moment because I see a bunch of comments coming in here. Michael's the manager of Space City Comics in Houston, Texas. Challenges is here from Challenges Comics and Games in Atlanta. Revenge of. We got Craig, my partner. Challengers is here from Chicago, Illinois. Play the video, but also, narrate it live. That'd be funny. Hey, it's Rob from Myths, Legends, and Heroes here in Canada. Olivia from Excalibur Comics. Narrate not. Yeah. Imagine if we got a cut of every subscription. Well, that's the dream, isn't it? No, it's not. Is Universal live now? Universal's been live like forever. Like over a year. We got Universal data like a year ago. Now, I've been talking with Alessandro recently because the way that they do their FOCs is a little screwy. So we've actually talked to them about merging all those FOCs into one. And also we're missing some data from some of their newer publishers because they've got stuff from like Zenescope and things, which they're the only distributor that carries Zenescope. So I got to work a little bit more on getting new data feeds from them because the stuff we have is a little older. And Corey X says, huge congrats to y'all for 10 years. I know it's amazing. Now, to be completely fair, we launched 10 years ago, and I think we technically launched like November 1st of 2015. I had started working on it in September with Taras, and we pushed it live. We had like half dozen beta customers from the first store using it for a little while and giving us feedback. But then we took like 18 months with that first store just to get things perfect. And then we kind of went really big in early 2017. So yeah, and we're not exactly sure exactly which day we went live with Managed Comics, but we're going to say November 13th, because if I can give my dog a birthday, why can't I give my company a birthday? So yeah, that's pretty fun. Not Alliance, right? Yes, that is true. Not Alliance. So I've talked with them, and so they just changed their invoices, because before that, I believe Alliance only had PDF invoices, which are impossible to accurately create anything from. So I have to talk with Alessandro about getting the Alliance SKUs, because we don't have those right now, but I'm hoping we will have it. Universal, is it live for US? That's a great question, Christina. I should check and make sure. I don't know. Yeah, that's a setting we have in our geo locations. So I will check and make sure. And actually, I have to talk with Alessandro about if there's any distributors they don't have available in the US before I turn that on. But sorry, publishers. But yeah, I will check and see. But yeah, guys, feel free to keep on jumping in. On Canada Day weekend this summer, I was up in Collingwood with my wife and kids, and Diamond sent out the announcement that they were leaving Pullbox and Comic Suite, and basically just like suspending it. And they said it'd be like 2 months. So I immediately started getting a bunch of text messages and looked into them and found out that it was because people were freaking out a little bit. So I apologized to my family and sat down for a little while and talked with a couple people, and then I got a hold of my team and I said, there's an opportunity for us to help these people out. I don't think it's fair what's happening to them. I know it's completely different than our mission, which is to support Shopify and support online, hybrid retail, which I still think is like the most important thing. If you don't have an online website in 2025, you're in danger of becoming obsolete. But that said, there's nothing wrong with RMH as a platform. It just doesn't really integrate with online very well. So we looked at Managed Comics and said, what will we have to do? And Tross said, I think it'll take like 3 weeks to rip out all the Shopify dependent stuff and build it from scratch. But we won't have like customer front end and stuff like that. We'll have to really, really think about how we're going to do that later. And I was like, people just need to be able to get things into their point of sale quickly, and they need to allocate stuff to their customers. If we can figure out a way to do that, let's do it. So 6 days later, we had a working thing that actually did everything Managed Comics does except for the Shopify parts. It took about 6 weeks to really refine it. And we worked with a bunch of stores during that time to like get things better. Even after that, there was another 4-week period where we hammered through things, but still in like 10 weeks, we had a brand new software solution that didn't exist before. We also worked with Sean from MCS in helping onboard people, and he's been in charge of like a lion's share of these things. And I've been amazed. Like he's such a good partner to have, and we're really, really happy with that partnership. But so after that, the team got together, figured out how to build Managed Comics Oryx. So Oryx is a fully standalone version of Managed Comics that has 100 shops currently using it right now. We are also using that as a platform to get authenticated as an official Lightspeed Series X app. We had our kind of onboarding meeting this week with Lightspeed, and Taras has done a bunch of work again to make that Lightspeed integration work. So yeah, I'm super excited about this. It's really, really cool to be working on like a stable platform like Managed Comics, but now with different hooks. And it's been really, really neat. So now we have 2 products with one mission to help comic stores run smoother. And that leads us into comicpreviews.com, which we've just launched. Comics Previews is really going to take over from the Previews world kind of world, which is, sorry, I'm trying to actually remove this so that I can present my website. It's so hard to do two things at once. You guys don't really know how difficult this gets sometimes. So comicpreviews.com is a standalone website, and the goal is going to be to create the new version of Previews World. This is still a work in progress, but it has come so far so quickly. You can actually find, every comic that is out right now. We're working on adding all the different covers to the one book, but this would have all the other covers as well. So think of it as like the pages that we have in Managed Comics, but like standalone. And we're going to find a bunch of those pages, I'm sure. Over time, this is going to get a lot smarter. This has also really allowed me to find where our data is lacking. So we've done a bunch of data improvements just to kind of get things up and running. And that's great that the series page is broken, but it's still broken there. Okay, so series pages are broken. We have publisher pages. This is also a work in progress. Just the look and feel is going to be a little bit different than other stuff we've done. We've also got creator pages that we're working on. And even the publisher pages are going to have little summaries of what the publisher is. Eventually, I want to give publishers the ability to update their own feature products, to feature products that they want to have special write-ups, and even update their own data. That'll be coming down the road. For comic previews, this is going to be the front end for Oryx. So if you're a Oryx store, you'll actually have your own front end with your own look and feel. That's what happens when I don't look at things before I go live on them. But yeah, basically this is going to look and feel like Bob's Comics when you're logged in as Bob's Comics, and it will kind of carry that through the entire site. So any customers that are logged in for Bob's Comics are going to have it look like them. We're pretty close to this. We're working right now on the actual subscription tools. And even like the things that I'm seeing that are broken, I know we have in QA proper. So, that's awesome. I guess these are all KO. We have a thing that actually looks for cover images like this and replaces them with our kind of standard cover image not found. But when they change them on the fly like this, it gets really hard because we can't just automatically do this. And it's not done with AI. It's just done with image recognition, which is not AI. But yeah, over time, we should be able to find that stuff better. So that's comic previews in a nutshell. I'm really excited about it. And the things, like, it's given me an opportunity to kind of rethink the inside customer pages. And so in rethinking those pages, I'm thinking about what that will look like when we integrate this stuff with Managed Comics. Even little things like a search that's more inline and that gives you more options when you're actually doing that search. So when I search for Batman, clicked on that too quickly. I can also say, just show me comics and just show me comics from obviously DC Comics. So when I do stuff like this, it narrows down what I'm going to see. So I can even see what new Batman comics are there this week or next week or last week, although I'm not sure if any of these filters are working. But this it's just a lot of potential, and then there's a lot of really cool stuff happening with this. So super excited about it. I keep ruining my look because, as Christina says, you need a producer, Kyle. Revenge of Us, if the intention is to merge Managed Comics with Shopify, or merge this with Managed Comics Shopify, yeah, for sure. We will probably get closer to that, although there's also some thought about eventually merging the two code bases into one. I would still like to have, all this stuff on your website as a kind of embedded thing in your website, and without all the comics previews branding and stuff like that. Kind of thinking through how that will happen is going to be a whole other me project, but that's something for next year, not for right now. I just want to get this stuff done. It's been really cool to actually like think about this stuff for the first time in quite some time as well, because I'm actually thinking about like, what is the customer experience for things, and how does that work? Dal asks a great question, which is, how do you, or actually, I don't know if this is Dal or Patrick, to be fair. How do you make money with comic previews? Is it subscription based? So comic previews is the front end of Oryx, which means I'll make money from that because it's subscription based, obviously. In terms of like other stuff, it's interesting when we start to get data and what we can use that data for. So aggregate data of 50,000 customers is actually significant at that point. And we can statistically start to say if 10%, more than 10% of all comic stores are using Managed Comics. So we can actually start to use that data to influence publishers to maybe pay us for publisher data, or the ability to communicate with those 50,000 people, not directly, but through websites, right? Like, because they can change around their featured stuff. They can promote the thing that they most want to promote this week. There's some stuff there for sure. I don't really know what that stuff looks like completely. I just know that the data of knowing from the time that an initial order, the catalog originally goes out until the time the product goes on sale, there's a huge window in there where publishers have no idea what's happening. And if we can start to give them insight into that stuff, they can help you sell more stuff. And that's really what we do. It's Patrick. Hello, Patrick. So yeah, I think there's a ton of potential with it. And, I'm just excited because this is a resource I myself want to use. So as a comic store, I need to be able to search for specific things. And GeekFetch could have been that thing, but I never really built it to be kind of customer facing. Whereas this has been built from day one to be customer facing. Like, I want customers to be able to use this. So we're thinking about it with a different kind of point of view. Patrick says, I want it too. I know, right? Like, I need to be able to search up any item that is in a catalog, and we can build those interfaces into Managed Comics, and we will at some point. But it's also just handy to be able to know all the distributors that are carrying a product. So when you're on comic previews and you go to Batman, it shows you which distributors carry this thing. When we do customer facing stuff, we probably won't make that stuff visible. So there'll be tools that are more for us as retailers. But yeah, this resource needs to exist. So what's next? Documentation is our big project right now. We're trying to document everything. What we've discovered with some of the people that we're working with now is they'll ask us, how do we do a thing? And both Taras and I are like, I remember. That was 3 years ago, like that's a world ago. So we've started a process of internal documentation, also external documentation, building like brand new help for Oryx, which means that I'm kind of transcribing that down to Ordo, and I shouldn't say down, laterally, because one is not better than the other. Because we've changed so much over the years and changed so many things that even though we updated the documentation as recently as like 6 months ago, significant things have changed in those 6 months. So we've got to document. We're even like documenting internal processes, like how do we update issue sequence numbers in bulk and things like that. So it's been a really good process for us. We're doing a ton of quality of life updates, which you should see later today, maybe early tomorrow. Taras has just put in a ton of stuff, including some auditing for Shopify. We've had a number of times where like Shopify has argued that a problem is ours and not theirs. And we actually know now, because we have this auditing, that we can say, okay, here's the exact error you gave us, and here's when it was triggered, and here's what the consequence was, that this product got double uploaded or whatever. We didn't have that before, but we have that now, and I'm really excited to show that to you. I have it in QA. I'm pretty confident it works, but I just got to run it through a couple more tests before we do. And we are improving our infrastructure. I've hired a DevOps guy who DevOps is like the operations side of things. So he's working on improving all of our infrastructure. The first thing he did was build comics previews from scratch. So we've got servers and stuff that are not touching any of our other server infrastructure. So that's pretty exciting. And we're going to kind of apply this same thinking to all of our other applications. So yeah, it's going to be really, really cool. I'm hiring finally for a support role. We have 363 stores now, and we've gone from like 10 support requests a day to like 40, which is too many for me to handle. We also need to be able to have somebody do like customer demos and things like that, which I just don't have the time to do that, and also build a ship that is flying, and, you know, reach out to publishers and reach out to other partners and try and improve our overall product. So that should be my role, is kind of a little higher than having my finger on every single help support ticket that comes in. Super important that I still maintain some of that, but probably not vitally important that I answer the questions in 15 minutes like I used to. But I still want those questions answered super fast. We're also putting a bigger focus on our internal data. So this means everything from like what parts of the application are being used versus what aren't. And also, you know, I want to be able to identify trends in things in the system. And by that, I mean, like, let's say that Absolute Batman number 15 starts spiking in pre-orders. If your store isn't pre-ordering a bunch extra, but we notice that like customers across the board are ordering more, we should probably give you some indication that this is a hot book, that this has the potential to be a bigger seller than maybe you think it would be. These are tools that as a retailer, I would love. Like, just don't change my orders, but give me the information that I need about the orders. Also, I don't spend my life on Bleeding Cool and everything. So when things change in the world, I'm often, you know, one of the last ones to know about it. And yet it would be really, really wonderful if we had some way of indicating that stuff in the site. There's also a ton of data that we get in the system that we don't do anything with. And a good example of that is returnability on things. Like, it'd be nice to have a returnability report that says this is what's returnable this week, because finding that information from the publishers and distributors is getting harder and harder. So those are the kinds of things that I mean when I say focusing on internal data, taking the data that we already have and starting to make it more usable and more visible. I see some conversations about this. More we do, the more documentation we need. So true. Devil operator, DevOps. Awesome tool, super helpful. Would be great to see trends that we might not catch ourselves. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So yeah, hopefully this is something that we can make super good. Now, what's the last little slide here? Building simple tools. So yeah, you guys know that that's one of my core philosophies, is like build simple, not the most complicated things. What we've found over the years is like there's 5% of the application that nobody ever touches. Yet we still have to maintain that 5%. I'd rather never build that 5%. And if that means we don't have a couple bells and whistles that some people need, there's so many other applications that will have those bells and whistles. And I guarantee you, they might be right for them. We want to build simple things that the majority of people use. I think this was actually supposed to be, yeah, that was going to be, that's too good. So comic previews was supposed to be my one more thing. That's an Apple Touch. Before we get into the where do you find us, let me just ask if there's any questions. Anybody have anything they want to know? Anybody have a story they want to tell us that they have about using Managed Comics over the years? Whatever it is, let us know, and I'll pull things up. How close is being able to import the number of each issue tax status department with Managed Comics into RMH? You should be able to do that now. And if you can't, then there's something missing. But like, as far as I know, RMH imports are good. The next phase for RMH for us is actually a Windows service, which we've worked with a company. I just keep on realizing that they've gone dark on us, but we worked on a company to scope that thing out, but it just hasn't been built yet. And basically what that would do is it would sit on a Windows machine, like your main behind the scenes shot box, and push or pull all the Managed Comic stuff in every week. So yeah, that's something for sure. Is there any way that a draft order helper will be made for Shopify POS? Bento is working okay, but is lacking some needed functions. So let me jump into Comic Carnival first. So I'm not sure why. So if you've talked to Sean about this, let me know. Maybe Sean and I need to loop in and figure out what is missing there together. Christina says, is there any way that a draft order helper? So honestly, Christina, like, a draft order helper is an entire other application, and I'm not sure that we have the ability to maintain two applications, even with the number of people we have. I would like to add, there's something called app extensions, which I would like to add into Managed Comics, which would prevent us from having an entirely other app, but would hopefully let you bring in draft orders. The problem really is, like, you can add items to a draft order that Managed Comics doesn't know about, right? So that's an entirely Shopify world thing. And at this point, I don't want to build too many entirely Shopify world things unless we have the ability to support that thing long term. The POS order helper, and one of the biggest problems we have with Shopify as a challenge is that they change their API stuff so frequently. When we compare that to Lightspeed and RMH, things are rock solid and they don't change them, and they will always work with that particular version. So it's really, really frustrating the number of times that we've had to rebuild entire pieces of our application just because Shopify has decided that this week they don't want customer information to be available to all apps. So we had to, like, literally rebuild a bunch of stuff around customers, or they're going to restrict which parts of an order we can adjust. And then we have to update to their APIs every X number of months, or else we lose access to the entire store, which is super, super frustrating. When we started with Manage in September 2023, we imported 92 boxes. Our last email for this week was sent to 540 plus. That's amazing. That is really, really cool. That's awesome, Joe. Challenges says, will we ever be able to use a full scanner? So yes, they've been allowing full scanners for a while. That is a Shopify issue, not a Managed Comics issue. But yeah, you can use a regular scanner. It acts as a keyboard. So it basically disables the on-screen keyboard. So you need an external keyboard if you're using it. But yeah, you can use any of them. Patrick says, may not be a question for this forum, but any progress on starting subs by issue number rather than date, and storyline subs? Question number 1. Yes, that's actually how I'm going to build comic previews. So we want to be able to support starting and stopping by an issue number. And then we'll figure out kind of the edge cases. It's funny because when we built it, it was around the time that there was a bunch of like negative issues and 0 issues. And I didn't know how we were going to deal with that. But looking back now, I should have treated those as edge cases and not as the norm. But yeah, Storyline subscriptions. Storylines are part of the Comet standard. And as soon as the distributors support storylines, we will as well. I have had to manually like create storylines in the past, and I don't want that editorial bias to be ours. I want it to be the publishers, if that makes any sense. So this is something that, like, if we had publisher tools, I would definitely give them the tools for that. So, but at this time, as soon as everybody is on Comet, we will introduce storylines. And maybe this is a good reason for us to jump onto Comet with PRH sooner than later, because they do have storyline information. So that might be something that we jump into. Comic Carnival is having great success with the email function. That's great. Any way to change the default settings on how Managed Comics opens, seeing all subscribers instead of new? Not at this time. New is there because we want you to approve your new subscribers. We added that feature because an overwhelming majority of people asked for the new feature. So just approve or decline the subscribers, and then you won't see new. But yeah, by default, it's going to have to open to new. Otherwise, people will never approve new subscribers. Arranging customers by subscription number, I guess that's something to look at in the future. Is like, again, as a simple solution, once we start getting into these things where we're like, this store wants to do it this way, this store wants to do it that way, you start to get into a lot of complexity that I just want to avoid. So if you have to click an extra button once, I know it's a terrible inconvenience, but it's one button click. If we have to program something, it becomes something we have to maintain forever. Is a webcomic equivalent publishing? I'm not sure what you're asking there. Loving the targeted emails. Did Millie just jump into the frame? Yeah, that's my dog. I just saw Michael's comment. Yeah, Patrick, I love that too. I'm so glad. Challengers actually requested that on their podcast. I can't tell you how many features we've added because Challengers is requesting them on their podcast. So don't ever let your podcast go away. I'm not using the invoice import feature on it. Reason being, I still have to go in and set the tax, publisher, and other information. Should I contact Sean about getting that on import? No, if you guys have talked to him, maybe I'm just like missing something. So I'll reach out to him and ask him what I'm missing. The last few days, the new is staying as the default with no one to approve. That's weird. I will take a look at that because, that's weird. It should not. It should jump to a subscriber. Anybody else noticing that new is staying up even though you've approved subscribers? That's weird. By all means, if that kind of thing happens, Christina, drop a help support request because we'll take a look at it and figure out why that's happening. Yeah, well, thank you for everybody jumping in and asking questions. That makes things a lot easier than me just rambling on. Oh, Michael Howard says, yes, new is staying on for me too. Okay, that's weird. I'll take a look at that then. Been slammed here. I know the feeling. Yeah. They tell me that's a good problem to have, Christina. I keep telling people it's still a problem. Good problem to have is still a problem. All right. Where do you find us? So if you go to managedcomics.com, you'll see our cute new streamlined site. On there, you can find all kinds of information like getting started, you can take a look at the 2 different Managed Comicses and all that stuff. You will find a webinar. We're doing a webinar at 3 p.m. and I'm going to stop calling them webinars. They're really office hours, just intended for people to kind of informally jump in and ask us questions or talk to us, or, just hang out or whatever. So every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, we will be doing these office hours for the foreseeable future. We'll probably stop over Christmas. It's like, I feel like the Thursday is the 24th, and then the following Thursday is the New Year's Day. Sorry, Thursday is the 26th this year, I think. So we'll probably not do it those 2 weeks, but otherwise, for the foreseeable future, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Pacific every Thursday. You can go to managedcomics.com and you'll find the link there to sign up. Yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out with me for the last 45 minutes. I'm going to go and get prepped for all the folks that are come to us on the office hours. So if you jump onto our website right now, you will find, and let me see if I can pull up our website. This is where I need a producer, Kyle, to go through things. So if you go right here and click on future webinars, you can actually sign up for our webinar right now. And it should not be called webinars. It's just office hours. So come and chat with us if you've got something you want to ask. It's just a Zoom thing. So yeah, come on and hang out. Just so I can calm the masses, any updated timeline on previews and the customer online ordering. So yeah, that's what comicpreviews.com is. I refuse to give dates anymore because I gave dates for too long that turned out to be lies. So I'm not giving dates anymore. We're working on it as hard as we can. Customer facing tools are not something that you can mess up, because if we screw those up and your customers lose faith in you, that's a one-time thing, right? So this is something we're working really hard to do the right way. I'm going to say, like I always say, 6 weeks. 6 weeks does not mean 6 weeks. It does not mean that 6 weeks from today it will be alive. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 8 weeks. But yeah, we got to get this thing right, because if it's wrong, your customers will be like, I'm not trusting that system. So you don't want that. I know it's a pain in the butt. And I honestly thought we'd have things done further than we are right now. But I'll be honest, like RMH took a lot of learning, and I still don't know half of what I need to know. So it is what it is, It is what it is. Say 2026, and I'm sure we'll it's better to, what is the saying? It's better to under promise and over deliver than over promise and under deliver. Yeah, and we just want to make sure we get this right, and we will, I promise. So that's going to do it for us this week. In the meantime, and in between times, on Comic Industry Insiders Live every week, we thank retailers and readers for making comics successful and for saving comics. And I just want to take a moment to thank you guys, the comic retailers who use Managed Comics, for helping us be successful. The more stores we get using Managed Comics, the more people I can hire, and every cent that we spend or that we get goes back into the business. And that's just my goal, is to make this thing awesome. I use it myself for my store, and I have since January of this year. And I couldn't run my store if I didn't have it. So yeah, thank you to everybody who's helped make it what it is today. And I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we will see you all next time.